All right, and so now theoretically we should be live. And I was waiting for it to pop up on the YouTube Reno. Wow, did I
Yeah,
actually?
and the
Did I
first thing we
actually?
might see is me taking a big old bite out of a pretzel.
Did I
First thing we
actually?
might see.
No, that's okay. I actually said YouTube Reno. I can't believe I'm that old. And then I didn't actually say it when it was live, and then I said it just now, which means that everybody knows that I said it, which was embarrassing. Yeah, and Trace, yes, Matthew was supposed to not make it, and then he realized, oh golly gee, I could make it, and so here we are.
It's true.
Yeah, and so
I am horrible with schedules. So
yeah.
I had a men's event, and halfway through, sometime around then, they say, hey, we gotta move this along. We need to be out here by 9 o'clock. I said, well, I'm only a half hour away. I could totally make it back to my home and ready by 9:30. Of course, unbeknownst to me, John had already pushed things back.
Well, maybe John pushed things back because you had canceled.
Oh, always passing the buck. Come on now.
What do you mean passing the buck? You straight up canceled. It wasn't like, oh golly gee, Matthew said he might be late. No, you canceled on us.
I don't know what Michael's talking about.
All right, so, but fortunately now we don't have to actually try to figure out how because I was sitting there going, oh great, so we're gonna have to watch Star Trek 6 on Thanksgiving. That's gonna suck. But no. So today we're going to be doing Star Trek 3, which puts us back on schedule because next week is Halloween, and then we'll be doing 4, 5, and 6 after Halloween. And then we'll take a week off for Thanksgiving, which I hadn't really talked to you about, but I assume you didn't want to do anything Thanksgiving weekend because it's Thanksgiving weekend. I presumed you would want to spend Thanksgiving weekend with your family, but, then again, it's you, so I guess you might not. And then we haven't talked about how we're going to do it on the holidays because interestingly enough, Christmas Eve and New Year's Eve are both Fridays. And so I now remember we actually started off the movie night thing with doing a Halloween special and then following it up with a New Year's Eve special. That's how we got into the Sharknado.
Didn't we?
Yeah, that was how we got into the Sharknado thing. And so I thought this New Year's Eve would be a great way to start off on the Fast and Furious thing. Just like we did with the Sharknado thing. One cheesy franchise deserves another. Anyway, but tonight is not a cheesy franchise. Tonight is Star Trek 3. And so one that you think is worse than Star Trek 5.
That's true. I said that. I absolutely said that.
Yes.
And I look forward to being proven wrong tonight, especially since so many of the details of Star Trek 3 I attributed to Star Trek 2.
Right. And I apologize.
And Thomas is saying I look orange.
I don't think you look orange. I think it's just that there's an awful lot of red on because your shirt is red, your background's red, everything is red, so it kind of makes your face look more flesh.
I bet I can do this.
Well, now you look like weird, more pasty than even usual.
That's true. I
Of course, I
tried to do a color correction thing, but
yeah. I ain't stressing over it.
Believe me as an Oompa Loompa. There we go.
Oh, Crunkalunka.
Crunkalunka.
Crunkalunkas are...
We resemble... are legally distinct from...
All right. So we don't want to waste too much time because, of course, we're running an hour late. Because you're a jerk. All right. So let's get right into it with the episode that is The Search for Spock. And you're still messing with it. Of course you are.
I am. Thomas says I look better this way, and I'm only throw him a bone since I almost had him put a hit out on me for canceling tonight.
Yeah,
but
I really thought Thomas was going to put a hit out on you.
I think I better play nice tonight.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so I guess let me drop a link to
Yes,
this
that would be helpful.
whatchamahoosit.
The Whatchamahoozit. So please go to the Whatchamahoozit as soon as the link is in the chat. Star Trek 3, The Search for Matthew. The Search for Matthew's Brain. All right, there we go. So there is the link to the actual movie screening room. So please, 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 you don't want to miss this. Because this is a very special edition of Star Trek 3.
Oh.
I mean, it's not that special, really. It's just got a couple of little things and little tweaks and edits that aren't in the
improvements.
Yeah, not like now Star Trek 5. You're really gonna love.
Oh gosh,
you're gonna absolutely love that one. But yes, one thing to notice is there's a couple of minor tweaks to Spock's brain, and one thing in particular to look for is Majel Barrett's stellar performance as Lady Who Falls Down Dramatically. And the reason I say that is because in this she falls down dramatically. But then in a future episode of Trek that we will be watching very soon, she also falls down dramatically in the exact same fashion as she does in this.
Well, maybe she's just really good at falling in this specific way. I'm sure it wasn't recycled.
She appears to be extremely good at falling in this very specific way. And sorry, Thomas, no, we can't just skip to Star Trek 5. We've got to watch them in order for it to make sense, because Matthew's brain is already, well, it's Matthew's brain.
And Star Trek 4 is such a fun one. I enjoyed it. I grew up with it. I have a soft spot for it.
Yeah, you have a soft spot, all right. Anyway, all right.
It was right here, and I landed on it a lot when I was a baby.
Yeah, that I believe. Although, I mean, in fairness, I have a weakness for Spock's brain, and it is, a lot of people think it's one of the worst episodes of the original series, and I still love this episode, as cheesy and silly as it is. You are not Morg. You are not Imorg. I don't know why. I just think it's fun.
Hey, let me hit play here. We'll get going, and then we can keep riffing on it. Now, I actually have specifically not watched Spock's brain for a long time.
Well, you'll remember why very shortly.
I know that it gets a bad reputation, but I'm not sure if that's really deserved or not anymore.
I don't think it is. I really don't. There's a hint of sexism in it, but it's really not that bad. I mean, it's the kind of sexism that you'll enjoy, like where they're like, "Oh, these women couldn't possibly be doctors," that kind of thing. But
totally appropriate.
Yeah. Now, I was actually thinking it'd be fun to edit this and have that be a TIE fighter, because they say, "Oh, it's got ion power," and of course, TIE fighter is for twin ion engine.
And Thomas, I did say, I'm not sure if I said 4 is the worst. Hold on, let me pull up my list here. I did rank 4 below 5, which was my par. But right. I did it because 4 is such, I don't know, like when I look at the rest of TOS, 4 seems kind of out of left field for me. And it doesn't really fit what I expect from the characters. And yes, I gave caveats for Spock being, kind of lobotomized still, and Chekhov, brain injury. But they just don't really, I don't know, it just doesn't mesh for me. So I kind of
Star Trek
excluded
5 totally works.
We'll see how wrong I am in 2-3 weeks.
Oh, well, Commodore Tyler's will meet William Shatner tonight at the Fran Expo in Toronto. Well, if I was in Toronto, I know where I'd be. Well, if I had money. Oh, look, a beautiful woman. And everybody's like, hey.
Even her is in the back. It's like, how you doing? And Jordan, where do you have no sound? Like, there's not going to be any sound for the video on YouTube. You got to come to the screening room to see the video.
Right, that's the link at the top of the chat. Oh, wait. Here it is. Ready? You're going to love it. And action. Wait, that's too good. We got to see it again.
Oh, for a second, I thought that was part of the. I thought it was part of the episode.
Nah, we just had to see it twice.
If you're in the screening room, make sure to check the volume on the player. I mean, I know statements,
I can hear it, but I am through the player.
She's kind of checking out his backside. Look at that.
Mm-hmm. You're like, ooh, wow, let me check that out. You know, would have saved a whole lot of time if she just went to Buck Rogers, because in Buck Rogers, Vulcans can just remove their heads. Oh, listen.
What is this? It sounds a lot like Shatner.
That was Shatner.
And...
That was Shatner when he was in space recently.
Oh. Yes. Okay. T-Berg is saying I'm a little loud. You sure? Let's check that. Yes, T-Berg. You would have thought that Elon at any point would have changed.
That was the worst design
of the rocket slightly.
Lee Cronin. Yeah, dude. Bad career move writing this episode.
Oh, you're just joking. Okay.
Wait a minute. Isn't this how Star Trek 2 ended? Where's Spock?
Oh,
Jim,
yeah,
you better get down here.
Jim, he's wearing a hippie headband. And gold is not his color.
No. How did you find anything after your dramatic collapse? How was he worse than dead? Please tell me the medical condition that is worse than dead. Well, you just said he's dead.
Worse than dead, even.
Oh, so he's like a Trump supporter.
Ooh, burn. Harsh burn. Hey, your lucky bird's asleep right now.
I know.
I think that comment will land you on the YouTube front page, though.
Yeah, it might. YouTube might like me now. Okay, we'll rewind it and I'll say, oh, you mean like a Biden supporter. How's that? Either one works.
Let's go, Brandon. I mean, Biden. Bones had a good eyebrow twitch.
You did.
Yeah, he was really good at like a quick. Roll credits.
Where are you going to look for Spock's brain? But they see there's. See, like, here's what happened. Somebody, I think Leonard Nimoy, was smoking some weed. And please, don't try to tell me Leonard Nimoy didn't smoke a lot of weed. Because have you not seen the fact that he made a habit out of taking pictures of fat ladies naked and publishing it as books of art? So Leonard Nimoy smoked a lot of weed. So Leonard Nimoy was smoking a whole lot of weed and sitting in his home theater and watching Spock's brain. And then he was like, hey, here's an idea. Let's just like do the opposite, man, and make a movie out of it. And then we got The Search for Spock. That's all because in Spock's brain, they have Spock's body, but someone took his mind, right?
Right, or he kind of gave it away, but yes.
And in The Search for Spock, they have Spock's mind, but they have to go get his body.
Now, hey, I wasn't paying too close attention. As that last scene started, you saw a yeoman walk across in front of a view screen. Mm-hmm. Was she black?
I wasn't paying that close attention. Why? Are you like worried about how woke it is or something?
No, if she was, I think that would have been the only time we really saw a black character as a yeoman. I thought that would have been an interesting little.
Oh, okay. I thought you were just
factoid
throwing your racism out there.
No, for once, no. I understand the confusion, but this time, no.
I know, I know. Well, he made the Bilbo song while he was on a lot of weed as well. I think Leonard Nimoy spent a lot of time smoking a lot of weed.
He's Bilbo Baggins.
See, I think he wrote that song while his brain was out of his body.
That lady right there.
Yeah. No, I don't think she's black. I do think it's interesting, though, that this is one of the few episodes where you see the view screen at the front and them standing in front of it.
Actually using the view screen as a presentation device instead of just a view screen.
And not a freaking window. Well, remember Multi-Gunman, I kind of like the way that Lore Reloaded. Just say that Life with Matthew likes Californians.
Likes Californians?
Yeah, Lore Reloaded equivocates 1940s Germany with California.
All right. Well, maybe you should go sit down at your console before making such a statement, Chekhov.
None of them could.
Uhura was like, Are you wearing my earpiece right now, Chekhov?
I know. She's like, what did you do? You're getting your ear cooties all over my thing.
Punk, you better get that back. And Donnie Pearson, I just so happen to see over on Netflix, they are advertising a new, for them at least, Power Rangers movie. Have you seen it yet?
Have you seen the Key and Peele Black Ranger sketch?
No.
Oh, dude. It's hilarious.
No, I have not.
I'll find it and put it as one of the short features one of these times. It's hilarious. You'll love it because it's so racist. It's hilarious.
Who did it?
Key and Peele. You remember Key and Peele, right?
I'll have to see a photo of him. You know how I am with names.
All right. You, just trust me, you'll love it. It's funny. But it's like
I don't like the CGI ship as much as I like the practical effects ship in these remakes or the remastered.
whatever.
It's weird because I feel like there are so many fans who have made a CGI Enterprise and made it more realistic looking than what CBS pulled off in these remasters.
Well, these remasters were done quite a while ago. I mean, honestly, they could do a new remaster to make it look a lot better. And you know what? Honestly,
They should. People would buy it up.
Honestly, and I know people would hate it. Like some of the like the Phantom Menace would hate it. Do it with the Discovery assets, like with not with all the Discovery assets, but like with the new Discovery Enterprise.
Yes, they did a good job with it.
It's a beautiful ship.
John's saying he'd also hate it if they used the Disco Prize.
I know a lot of fans would get mad, but as long as they didn't try to use the crazy Klingork ships and stuff, and they used the D7 designs.
Was it really 20 years ago they did these remasters? I thought it was a lot. I thought it was a lot more recent than that. I'll grant it to them then. I thought this was within the past decade kind of issue.
It was a long time ago. It was early CG by TV standards.
Okay, fair enough. And did I call John Joan? I certainly didn't mean to if I did, but it is
I'm
me
not
talking.
surprised.
So.
Yeah, so. Congratulations, John. You are now Joan DeMarco. Yeah.
Wow, 2003 when they did the remasters. I'm shocked. Eternal Vigilance. And just tonight, Amy was asking me like, "Oh, hey, this guy you're talking to is he an old guy?" I'm like, "No, he's a young guy. Around my age." And she's like, "Matt, you're not a young guy anymore." I'm like, "Crap, that's harsh but true."
Well, I was we were having dinner with a former coworker of mine. Now that I'm unemployed, a former coworker of mine, and he was talking about his mom having trouble with some new technology, and my wife was like, "Well, how old is your mom?" And he's like,
"Oh no,
his mom is 2 years older than me." Yeah, that was the Kurogan welcoming party. That's exactly right, Multigun Man. Those are the people that survived the Kurogan mines. That line could be horribly misinterpreted.
Right.
He's like, hey, wait, is that John DeMarco? Oh,
It was clearly several years ago. The beard's not long enough.
that's true.
Now imagine this episode being done today. They'd be like, companion, our mate? Oh, you mean my partner?
Yeah.
He ran off.
My boy toy.
Yeah, snoo snoo.
Givers.
People who give pain and delight. Sounds like a woman.
Wow. And so now the sexism comes out.
Well, I'm trying to get a head start on things, you know? I already dropped the racism bomb, clearly, so... Now, careful, Mrs. Scott. I've been in these caves before, and there's a cliff around here that you do not want to fall down.
Hey, there's a cave down there.
Gosh. Scotty looks so weird in this episode. Is it the pants up to his belly button that's doing it?
Maybe. He does look a little... Yeah, he's got the belt on the outside. He tucked his shirt in while Kirk and Chekhov don't.
Yeah. Yes, Squidward, the game definitely looks strangely paper-like.
It almost looks like a Star Trek The Next Generation set.
Oh, if only in the episode The Magnificent Ferengi, someone had made a comment about how there was a medical file in Starfleet about someone who had lost their brain.
The robot body of Spiro Agnew. Yes, indeed. Yeah, I wanted my own radio-controlled Spock when I was a kid.
I could see that being a toy. Get your very own remote-controlled Spock. I guess all the red shirts tucked in their shirt today.
Yeah. So I guess that's just part of the red shirt uniform. They have to look like dorks.
It's so they choose death, I mean.
Well, you know.
It's either a nuclear pile 100 miles across or Spock's brain.
Mm-hmm. But notice, like, excuse me, ion power is the original series version of quantum. Huh? Ow. That was not nice.
T-Berg, that would have been the perfect time for Chekhov to make a comment about Russians inventing central heating as he heated up the rock.
Well, you know, Chekhov earlier, you might have missed it, but he said that the planet was comfortable when they first beamed down. He said that the maximum temperature was like 40 degrees and it was livable. And Kirk was like, "You have a thick skin." You know, if Dr. McCoy's scanner can tell about how smart she is, that's a pretty sophisticated scanner, because he can tell that she's got the mind of a child.
You know, John and I were talking about this today over on Discord, but in the episode, I want to say Field of Fire, where Ezri Dax has the transporter rifle, and, you know, the Vulcan is killing people with it. They have a eyepiece that lets them see through walls. And I realized that it's just a scanner. Everyone's scanner can, like, completely tell what someone looks like several rooms away.
Right.
You know, like, you know, an orbit.
Yeah. Nothing special about that.
It's just that technically there's no privacy in the future.
No. Well, especially if
It's
you
just
consider
most people don't hook
Voyager,
up their tricorder to a monitor.
In Voyager, they say that your brainwave patterns are constantly being monitored by the computer.
It's true. So Spock is basically the paperclip emoji from Microsoft Word.
They all took a nap. You'd think they'd wonder why Spock was unaffected. But
Good
no.
question.
You know, it's like they just put the belt on Spock too, and they don't care.
Good question, Squidward. Why would he have the same voice without vocal cords?
I like the way she's physically describing getting shot.
I mean, this basically is the Femputer from Futurama episode of Star Trek.
Well, keep in mind, Futurama ripped off this.
Well, yes.
I mean, you make it sound like this ripped off Futurama, but this was made in the 1960s.
It's interesting that in a society where women are clearly in control, that they decided to pick women as very unintelligent, like education's not that important, and they decided to make it such that women are extremely concerned with their appearance, with makeup and trendy clothing.
Wouldn't that be? That's just the way it is. These are women, Jim. They're stupid. She's a woman, you know.
Yes, Thomas, I count years backwards. I have severe math issues.
Well, you have more issues than just that.
I was just being specific. Not exclusive.
Like how
We'll talk about our feelings and
do each other's
are you
hair.
being fooled by this? Like the way he's talking to her like now, he's so talking down to her.
And
No
Tabor,
sun, but there's light?
yeah, no, that's how, I mean,
You mean like what we have all around us right now? It's clearly not you. You're a woman. So where's the one who controls this thing, doll face?
notice Kirk said him.
I did notice that, yes. You know, maybe if they didn't keep selecting man brains, they wouldn't be in such short skirts.
Spock's brain controls. See, there's your classic Kirk pause.
This is what we feel once a month. Grab your tummies.
Wow.
That's how they responded, like, oh!
These are cramps. That'd be great if the button actually said PMS on it. That would...
Yeah, they only give him a level 1 cramp pain, and then can't take it.
How does it appear to be correct? You don't know anything. I mean... Painful man simulation.
Even Kirk confirms it. He said, I never felt pain like that. They gave him cramps.
It's a uterus simulation. The primitive female
women
mind.
can't do jack. This is such a bad episode. Oh, at least when we overstate their points. McCoy, little balance on his foot.
Well,
I'm sure you noticed the delight aspect.
McCoy's thinking, yeah, I think I'll stay. Might all man inspired doped old ladies. Now notice, Kirk beats the crap, well, Kirk's stunt double beats the crap out of this dude. While the other guy is as taking on McCoy and Scotty by himself.
Scotty is clearly taking it easy on this guy. Because we saw last week that he can one punch one of the
augments.
enhanced beings.
Mm-hmm.
I guess he's really suffering from the cramps.
Yeah. Maybe he's still feeling it from being dead and everything, you know. We brought your body.
Please tell me Bones hasn't been near it.
Well, I think he's more concerned that Nurse Chapel might have been alone with it. Remember, she said she found it.
It's true.
Yes. How can he just beam them a signal?
I guess he's learning more about his body.
I mean, like, if you're suddenly able to telepathically communicate to them, okay, fine, but he can just beam them a signal? And Malfi says, "You're right, Spock is a dick." Oh, yeah. It's not just Spock is a dick.
Then why are
Vulcans.
you here?
Vulcans are dicks, as we will see more of when we get to Star Trek 3. Notice I didn't pause the show to say Vulcans are dicks. But don't worry, that's coming.
I love how clock sounds like a clockwork contraption.
Well, they put gears inside of Spock's legs and stuff.
Oh, excuse me. I'm going to be doing this a lot.
You know, you probably should have drank the beer. You should probably just be focusing on, like, stimulants, like, you know, crack and coffee.
I had coffee several hours ago.
Yeah, but you should be having coffee now instead of beer.
But beer tastes so much better.
Enterprise Vulcans are super dicks. That is true. Well, meth is only legal in Oregon, apparently. Since Matthew did such a great job on Nomad, you should have him do the controller. Well, you know, I was hoping that Matthew would eventually one day finish Nomad, and then we would look at doing other projects. But, you know, he didn't.
There is that.
It's like, is she so stupid as to not see Spock there? Oh, hi. And there's the button to reach out and grab her. And then there's a button to specifically hit the red button on her bracelet.
It's a very advanced controller. Yes, it is the best remote control ever.
You should have a big banner flashing Vulcans are dicks without stopping. This episode, you probably could. Every time Spock talks. Now, that line right there, makes for an interesting statement about the original series, because the way that Kirk describes it is those aren't supposed to be, plastic beams. Those are supposed to be like light, like like if
Like
that were
fiber optic.
well, no, not even fiber optic. I think it's supposed to look like it's suspended in the air and connected by photons. Like if we're being made today, we would just see energy beams going in there.
Oh, okay. Okay.
And so people have argued, and I think that there's a good argument to be made that if you look at the shuttlecraft controls, when you see a piece of plexiglass cut out in a circle and then there's like a star chart on it in front of them, that's actually supposed to be a hologram projected, but they just didn't have a way to make that happen back then. And so that's just the best they could do for visual effects in the 1960s.
Okay.
And no, T-Berg, that's not Turtistani architecture. It's a hair dryer.
Emmett Brown's mind reading hat.
I haven't done my hair. Is that like brain rape? Kind of, yeah. But you got to give this actress credit for really selling the idea that she is now like 100 times smarter than she was a few seconds ago.
Yeah. Where are you hiding that?
Well, you don't want to know.
Oh my.
There's a old Earth expression to pull something out of your...
Close.
Although I love this dramatic feint of Scotty's here. She should say, the needs of the many outweigh the needs of the few. And Spock would say,
Or the one.
I agree.
Oh, my cramps. Oh.
And a CinemaSins would say, that worked.
Maybe someone else could wear the hat. Like Bones.
Well, poo-poo on you. What did you think she was going to say?
Or you could write them down.
Yeah.
I mean, it's 3 hours. Maybe you won't get everything, but you could at least quickly write down the most important details. And if it was safe once, maybe it'd be safe twice.
But he didn't do his hair either. Aren't they supposed to do their
That's
hair?
what the hat is for.
He's hot for a teacher.
Isn't Spock the teacher right now? In a way.
It's a Floby hat. Great. A child could do it. So write down.
All you have to do is cut off the top of the head. In the words of Dr. Farnsworth, the easy part was getting the brain out.
Yeah. So then I made an even equally large monster. You can manipulate them through sex.
It's a natural order of things.
I'll help you personally. Come on up to my quarters and I'll show you the kind of help that I can give you. Oh, dang.
Dun dun dun.
The new Spock with a 12-core Athlon and Radeon graphics card. Actually, unfortunately, see, this Spock only has Intel graphics on him. Captain's log supplemental. Well, Spock's dead. Yeah, Bone's CPU is over.
If only there were 2, maybe 3 other people on this planet who could put on the teacher and fix this.
Yeah, you know how Scotty said he'd like a shot at the teacher? Remember he said that earlier? Yeah. Remember that, Kirk? Kirk? Yeah, Kirk?
Yeah, Cinnabon. Bones needs someone to wipe that forehead of his.
Hey, you know what you could do? Just spitballing here. Beam down Dr. Mbanga. You know, have him put the teacher on.
Or even Nurse Chapel.
Yeah.
You played KOTOR, right?
Me, a little bit.
Did you ever get to the part with HK-47, the hunter-killer assassin robot?
No.
You get a assassin robot at one point, and you can try to upgrade his abilities by repairing him. And it's literally like this. You mess up, and he's like, ah, ah. Yes, Trace, meat bags. That's the one. But he's like this. It's the same thing. It's like, I will try to walk you through the process, Master. First, open my access panel.
So congratulations, he can move like 5 things.
Is he? I don't really hear Spock giving a lot of input on how to operate.
Yeah, he's just confirming that you moved stuff. Yeah, I've heard they're remaking Knights of the Old Republic. I might try it when they do the remake, because honestly, I did not like the interface. It felt too wonky for me. Wah, wah. No, I wanted to hear what he was going to say about the Romans and how that somehow fit with this.
Yeah. I mean, way to bury the lead, Star Trek.
So apparently,
he was talking about
that happened on old Earth.
The division between male and female.
Mm-hmm. Any ideas?
No, I really don't. I kind of think is lying. See, Roman. I didn't even know what to put into Google to find this gender split.
Roman male female schism.
The good.
That's true. Spock did give praise to the German government in the 1940s, so that's an episode we will definitely never be watching on this show.
Not just demonetized, but banned. Let's see. When I type that in, I keep getting the schism of the Roman Catholic Church.
Yeah. Well. Is it logical?
Okay, is this the actual beginning to the movie?
Yes.
Okay. Previously on Star Trek, the movie.
But you see, if the needs of the many outweigh the needs of the few, then he should still be the controller.
Exactly.
I
like how they thought it was a really good idea to start the movie by having the the picture be like this big on the movie screen.
Well, that way when you're at the theater, it starts out like the size of your TV and then slowly becomes the size of a movie screen. And notice they're very careful to not show you Saavik from Star Trek 2. But I'm also upset that they didn't replay Scotty playing the bagpipes. Because that was like the best part of the movie.
I'm sure LDG would have something to say about that's not the
The same, yeah.
yeah, this isn't the way the last one ended.
Therefore, it's wrong.
It proves Mephisto is in charge of everything.
Well, it does. Obviously, that's Mephisto right there. That's not a, And here's what I want to know: where'd that star come from? There was no
Oh,
star.
they must have been like in orbit?
There was no star in the nebula. And yes, Squidward, I love the bagpipes in Dune. Yeah, that was actually something that was really cool.
I haven't watched the new one yet.
There are bagpipes.
But it was only released today or last night, right?
Correct. Last night on HBO Max. Paramount Pictures presents
Vines, trees, ferns.
Excitement.
My ancestor.
Torpedo, the movie. Mark 6, the movie. Exactly, Thomas. A nebula is the remnant of a supernova. So how could a star be in the middle of a nebula?
I thought that, well, maybe the remnants and the precursor.
Seabird could only have HBO minimum instead of HBO Max. Hey, Alex.
Ho, how you doing, Alex?
The movie is just starting, so perfect time. Click on the link. The credits are just now rolling.
And yeah, I guess part of the Genesis torpedo is that it creates a star too.
That doesn't make any sense. That's not, Genesis is not, no. It shouldn't.
You have an issue with Genesis not creating life from a barren planet, but on it creating a star and life?
Well, it shouldn't have created the planet. To be honest with you, it should not have created a planet at all.
Oh yeah.
Because
I still can't believe that Christopher Lloyd is in this.
I know. But Genesis is designed to simply convert a dead planet into a living planet, right? And the danger of Genesis is that if you used it on a living planet, then would wipe out the existing life and start it fresh. So it would, in essence, become a planet-killing weapon. The problem, though, is that when it was detonated, there was no planet. So it wouldn't just magically create a planet. There's no precedence for that.
I can sooner accept it creating a star from the nebula than it creating a solid core, or not, a liquid core, molten core, and a crust, and life, and a whole planet.
Yeah.
But hey, maybe that's why it starts to break up. There wasn't enough raw material. Sorry, spoilers?
Yeah, now everybody's upset.
Thomas is saying there was a planet next to the
Well,
station?
there was the Regula, but it wasn't big enough.
I like Titan AE, Alex. I thought that was a fun movie. Bit of a yada yada quantum ending, but fun movie.
Now remember, according to Matthew, this movie is worse than Star Trek V.
Right? I did say that, unfortunately. I've yet to live it down.
Poor Chekhov.
On course, Admiral, and I hate your guts.
You fat pig. Oh, you're not fat yet.
He even makes that joke in TNG Relics.
Mm-hmm. But you don't think they act in character here. Now pay close attention here. We need to see exactly where the next scene takes place. It's very important.
What, a turbo lift?
No, the next scene, I said.
The Kroga sector. Nice.
So what? He's just being a dick? I mean, what was the point if he's been there for some time? Why hide? Now that shot of the bird of prey right there makes it look huge.
Alien dog snarling. I guess before they came up the idea of a targ.
But that clearly is a targ.
Yes. And that lady is way overdressed. I mean, is she supposed to be a Klingon? She kind of has a forehead something.
Yeah, she's a Klingon, I believe.
In which case, she's overdressed in a different way.
And right here... What?
Well played, T-Berg. The dog's name is Marty McFly.
See, like, this is very not Klingon here. This is element of the script that feels very Romulan. Where her suicide by honor here.
Yeah. Kind of cowardly to fire on a transport vessel. Like, oh yeah, songs we sung about this mighty battle. Remember that time you killed your wife?
I actually thought about that, Thomas, of making it so that when those pictures of Kirk flashed up, had to be pictures of Bird.
Oh, the ones Yosef has?
No, no, I don't want to get my channel banned. So right here, this is a new matte of Earth. So, because, the last two movies, we got the same matte painting that was created in the 70s. So this is a new visual effect of Earth. And, of course, our first look at Space Dock.
Is that Britain we're seeing?
So you see the majesty of space dock, and you're like, "Ooh, is that Britain?"
Yes, that is literally what I did.
I mean, that is a wonderful Earth background, but I think the space dock model is really what I'm impressed with.
I mean, think about how big that thing is. I think that thing would dwarf Deep Space Nine by quite a bit.
Yes.
But what's the point
wait,
of actually
look at
having
this.
a space dock like that?
Pay attention.
Is that just for lore?
Yes. Remember, they never say transwarp in this movie. And for some reason, Scotty just randomly curses. I mean, he called his grandmother, I don't know what, but that was horrible.
I mean, seriously, this is aesthetically wonderful. Love it. I just don't get the point of a space dock that encapsulate the starship like this.
Yeah. Look at the diagram behind Chekhov. It was the original series Connie. The diagrams behind them are from the original technical manual. See?
Scotty hasn't upgraded the layout yet.
And yet the woman there was Janice Rand. Nouveau. I have no idea what he said, but it's in Russian.
Oh my goodness, those helmets. Those everything.
What?
But hey, maybe if more red shirts had a little body armor, they wouldn't die so much. Now, Uhura did not have that haircut in the Wrath of Khan, did she?
I'd have to watch them back to back. I'm not thinking about it.
Maybe John can look real quick. He's quick on the uptake like that.
Yes, indeed. That thrust barcode, chief of security, that was a joke that SF Debris used to use.
And John says Uhura's hairstyles aren't in his memory banks.
Well,
I can look it
shows
up
you're
real
no
quick.
good. But don't worry, Uhura's
I can look it up
legs
real
in Star
quick.
Trek V are in his memory banks.
I just need to find a quick photo of her. The one's walking through. She really doesn't show up much in Wrath of Khan, does she? There we go. No, she definitely did not have that hairstyle. she got a perm after Spock's funeral. Yes, she did. She has a much more, I call it an attractive hairstyle in Star Trek 2.
Oh man! Now, let me see a picture because now I want to see how racist you're getting.
Okay, that's fair.
You're lucky my wife is not sitting next to me right now.
I mean, this isn't the best one, but it's the first one I found. So let me share my screen here real quick.
And what Admiral Murrow is talking about right now is COVID vaccines.
So I think that hairstyle looks much better on her than this permy one they have in this episode.
And yes, Daniels, I don't think that there's anybody that thinks that these movies are not better than Discovery. Uhura, as far as I know, only had an afro in Star Trek: The Motion Picture.
Now, I'm not sure what I'd call it in Wrath of Khan, but it's not an afro. It just fits her better. Like in The Search for Spock, it's almost the Michael Jackson haircut.
So there's John Larroquette. So we've got Night Court and Taxi represented here.
You're too close for comfort.
Well, he's going to kiss him. This was, people thought that there were no LGBT characters, but we had our first LGBT Klingons in this one.
There's a reason I got rid of my wife. Meet me in my quarters later.
And here you go, the Grissom. The world's most impractical starship design.
That does look even more strange than the Cerritos.
Like, yeah, how do you get from the saucer section to the secondary hull? They say in the blueprints, it shows that there is a turbo lift that goes down those warp pylons. That makes no sense, though. They're not wide enough. Of course, only the Oberth class would have a pink captain's chair. And Robert Curtis, you see, I don't mind that they recast Saavik. I know they had no choice, but the way that she sounds so spiteful in this, just like your father, so human. She just sounds like, she's even more dickish than a typical Vulcan.
She sounds like a jilted lover.
Yeah.
Now why did they have to recast her?
Because Kirstie Alley, there was, I know that there are conflicting stories as far as like whether she actually wanted to come back or whether it was confusion as far as her agent and stuff. But basically, there was either her agent didn't want her to come back or she didn't want to come back.
You know how I see faces and I make connections to people that definitely look nothing like that, but they look like it to me? That captain, he looks like Mitt Romney to me.
Definitely not Mitt Romney, but he does kind of come across as a politician.
Squidward, yes, you are new to my weirdness, insanity. I have extreme facial recognition issues. I see connections where there just aren't connections at all, and that face to me looks just ever so slightly Mitt Romney-ish. My brain is very weird.
And the crazy thing is that I'm the one that actually has brain damage.
If I ever get brain damage in the future, will anyone be able to tell? Like, my brain might get more normal.
Yeah. Okay, pay attention here. Look, it's Gandalf.
Didn't I see you on a view screen once? There were more flames at the time.
Look at this. Look at this. I mean, he literally just comes into their morning gathering. You know, they're all mourning their loss of their best friend Spock, and he's just like, "Get out."
He kind of looks like a Jedi.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, spare me your platitudes. I don't care that you're talking about how great my son is. My son was a Vulcan. That means he was a jerk.
I didn't like him anyway.
I was dying, and he barely came to save my life with a blood transfusion. I mean, screw that guy. Or an organ transplant? I forget what it was in that episode.
No, it was a blood transfusion.
And hey, Jeff, how you doing? Glad you made it back.
Yes, his Katra. That's what we all knew about.
WK Productions is saying that the costume designer for the movie really hated Chekhov. I didn't notice that.
Oh yeah,
because Kirk's suit is just so encompassing of my vision. But I did notice that Sulu really sashayed off the set right there with everyone else.
but I love the. Oh yeah, you know, Spock wanted you to take his Katra to Mount Soleil on Vulcan. Oh well, I didn't know. Well, he wouldn't have asked you openly. Then how was I supposed to know? You know.
And hey, you know what? I think I may have heard someone just talking about this earlier. Oh, who was it? Someone unexpectedly. It's probably nothing important. And that's true, good old gamer. David Hasselhoff would totally be wearing Kirk's tracksuit.
David Hasselhoff is probably wearing that tracksuit right now.
How does he go from Knight Rider to that kind of tracksuit? I mean, what happened?
David Hasselhoff does.
Yeah.
He just does. David Hasselhoff is like the William Shatner of Germany. I don't know how he does. Yeah, that pilgrim costume of Chekhov's that he gets later is just embarrassing.
Tom Spots. David who? David Hasselhoff.
You say Hasselhoff?
It sounded like that, I'm pretty sure.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure that's what you said, all right.
Hasselhoff.
You okay there?
Sorry, just the way that was delivered.
He couldn't touch me. You're just wrong now, dude.
I'm sorry,
It's like you're supposed to. I thought you were like the Puritan Christian guy, and you're sitting there. Your mind is in the gutter, thinking of homoerotic dreams of Kirk and Spock.
Well, I mean, did you see Spock in that last movie? The way he pinches the guy? Oh.
Yeah.
And the whole conversation, what if he joined with someone else? He couldn't touch me.
Oh, look, I have a copy of Star Trek 2 right here. Now they're doing a Spaceballs routine here.
Those are some good grain effects. Where are my grain effects? What's going on here? Oh. Uh-oh. Uh-oh.
What'd you do? You rewound the slideshow?
Not intentionally.
Idiot. Well, you're close. Zoom and enhance. But you see, Kirk's got to be a badass about it, so he doesn't say zoom and enhance, but he zooms and enhances.
I got close.
Mm-hmm. Okay, so question. Why does Kirk need to bring both of them there?
I'm sorry, I missed the both. Who both? Which both?
Why does
Spock's body and...
Yeah, why does Kirk need Spock's body?
I guess that's the whole point. You didn't need it 5 seconds ago when you tried to meld with Kirk.
Right. So, yeah, so why is it that now all of a sudden you need his body? Especially when they don't even know that his body is still retrievable.
Yes, because movie, but typically you'd need something better than that.
Mm-hmm.
Like, they could have just said, we don't need his body. Kirk go off on his way, and then, unrelated to everything else, oh, hey, by the way, we found this life form, and oh, by the way, we have this baby Spock.
Yeah. Yeah, see,
We
the
are
problem
making a
here...
detour.
Yeah, the problem here is that there's no reason whatsoever that Kirk is heading to Genesis. The entire, like, granted, the stealing the Enterprise and stuff is awesome, and them heading to Genesis is great, but there's no compelling reason for Kirk to do it. Really, all Kirk needs to do is go to Admiral Murrow, say, yeah, I know that McCoy's having deep emotional trouble. Remand him to my custody. I'll take him to Vulcan. We'll be back in a few weeks, and he'll be fine. And that would have been the entire story.
Yeah. And what are these creatures?
Those were microbes that were on the surface of the torpedo somehow. Because they wouldn't have burned off when the torpedo was on fire.
And shouldn't there be a very dead Spock body in there?
Well, that's the whole point. The dead Spock body was revitalized by the Genesis effect. But then at the planet's core, shouldn't there be a con? You know?
Exactly. Oh, gosh. I'm like, oh, hold on. I think I hear my daughter crying. I'll be back in a second. But no, it was in the movie. We're good.
Wow, your daughter sounds like that?
Well, I could only hear, like, that's totally what I would expect to hear, just barely in the background through a couple doors. The Concord is the real reason the planet exploded. Even a chance if Spock has an eternal soul, because you know those dirty Vulcans, they're like redheads. They ain't got no soul.
What are you going to do? Give me back the Enterprise so you can what? Spock's body, as far as you know, you shot off into space and is gone, disintegrated. What makes you think his body is on Genesis?
Everyone knows that Starfleet doesn't care about religion and respecting other cultures' preferences.
And no, T-Rex, Vulcans are dicks all the time. Just every 7 years they use them.
The bird is the word.
That looks like a really stupid game.
It reminds me of, I believe the game was Biplanes. Tribbles? Biplanes on, was it the NES or Atari? I forget which one.
Yeah.
Maybe on the Intellivision. Have you been drinking already?
There's the guy I inserted into the trailer for Star Trek 2 that you didn't notice.
Yes, I did recognize him at this point. Mirada Grisca solo.
No, I don't think McCoy's going to shoot him. Thomas, what the F you had in a Star Trek 2 scene?
To be fair, T-Berg, Morn would easily win a debating contest. He never shuts up. It's just always off screen.
But they don't have money. You know, remember they say there's no money in the next movie? So McCoy's an anti-masker or something. I got my rights.
Yeah, you said it. Oh, you know what? On second thought, I would like a ride home. Check.
I like the attempted nerve pinch. And you see, and right there, that establishes, I don't give a crap what they did in Next Generation. That establishes that you can't just do a nerve pinch if you know the technique. Because McCoy would have perfect technique because he has Spock's Katra.
Yeah, and I do believe that Picard did it once to Tuvok.
Right. Picard did it. Data did it. But no, you can't do it just because you can imitate the motion.
So you think it's actually a psychic attack and not just a strength attack?
I believe so. And yeah, I get it, Professor, that I think that they're referring to physical money, but the problem is people do argue that they just have no currency because utopian future, blah blah blah. Because then later, of course, Picard says everybody just works to better themselves, which is a load of crap.
That was pretty funny. I disagree, McCoy. That was great. Oh yeah, Thomas. In the episode where they did the Baryon fleet, Tuvok, or Tim Russ technically, but whatever, he was one of the people who came aboard the Enterprise, and Picard neck pinches him, knocks him out. Pretty sure that was the episode. I'm pretty sure he was the character he did it to. So handsome, you got anything going on tonight? Clearly that guy's from Westboro Baptist. Look the way he took to look at Sulu.
Was that really necessary?
It was a lousy conversation anyway. Seriously, they made Sulu fabulous.
Yeah. I do like that line though. His code word there. Did you catch what Kurt said?
Unit 1 or Unit 2, Unit 1?
After that.
No.
The Kobayashi Maru has set sail for the promised land. So the Kobayashi Maru, the doomed ship, the Enterprise, has set sail for the promised land, Genesis.
Nice.
So I just like that. Oh yeah, there's Mr. Tom, not Tom Cruise. And no, we're not banning you, Jeff. Sorry, not going to happen. Okay.
I love how her is like, I was almost liking you, and then you had to make that comment.
I'm thinking that is like life with Matthew as a transporter officer right there. That's exactly what he'd be like, huh? What's going on?
Oh, the gun. Yeah. Closet? Yep. Yep. We're good. Can I at least have a beer?
Squidward, I'm not touching that comment. It's true, but I'm not touching that comment.
T-Berg, so Matthew, you're in the closet?
Yeah.
I've been talking about how fabulous Sulu is.
Well, and not to mention your feelings about Spock.
Oh my.
See, there's the outfit they were talking about. Chekhov's outfit.
Did Scotty steal the? Oh no, it's a different. For a second, I thought Scotty had stolen the other captain's baton thing. Which what kind of jerk actually carries around like a
riding crop?
wooden riding crop, yeah.
Well, he didn't have any apples around to make him look more like a.
And yes, that is a horrible outfit on Chekhov. My goodness. He looks like a little Puritan boy.
Oh my! It's just, that's for later when Sulu and Chekhov go back to his quarters.
Kirk did get a cool leather jacket.
Yeah, I do like that leather jacket of Kirk's.
Wow, he changed fast. Look at that.
He just took off the leather jacket. It's like, what?
You know, WK, I thought McCoy's outfit was pretty good as well.
I don't know. I like Sulu's outfit. I like Kirk's outfit, but it looks too much like his uniform.
Well, he's in his uniform now.
I'm curious, what's your problem with the scene, Brainy Specs?
Is it the riding crop? Is it the censored stuff? My oldest brother actually, his first job was at an Arby's, and the guy literally worked at a sugarcane plantation growing up. And he'd walk around with a sugarcane and slam it down next to the teenagers if they weren't doing what he wanted them to do.
Yeah, I don't understand what you don't like about the scene here, Professor. You got to tell us. I mean, yeah, I mean, I like just about everything about it. The Enterprise, this whole sequence, the Enterprise trying to slowly turn around, get away. About the only thing you can nitpick is that they aren't moving at 1/4 impulse speed. They're moving on thrusters. I actually considered calling this the transphobic edition because all the transwarp is cut out.
Oh, one of the cone heads is navigating back there, or at one of the consoles.
Yeah. You didn't know that? They're from France.
Professor, the frame rate was kind of jittery.
Yeah, it is
Yeah,
a little
I can.
one. That's by the encoder.
I thought maybe it might just be the special effects of the time.
Yeah.
As Kirk sits down in it. But Jeff, you still haven't told us what was
Yeah,
what was your issue with the scene where we're on the edge of our seats. Jeff, I hate this censoring stuff. It's transwarp.
Hey, that's transphobic, man. Sounds like a sputtering Kurogan Jeep. I do think the sputtering sound effect is a bit much. Oh, look carefully at the you saw what he called the doctor?
No.
Oh, dude, you missed it.
What did he call him?
Well, I bleeped out what the word doctor, and I very carefully changed it so that the D-O of doctor, I changed it to F-U and then covered the rest of the word. So
Oh, I did see the FU, but I'm like,
Yeah,
I know he
so-
didn't call him that. So. But what professor? What was bad? The censoring or?
Well, I mean, I
Or
know
the
you
actual
didn't
thing
like
in
the
the
fact
scene.
that I did the censoring, but let me say this about the censoring and the little jokes that I throw in and stuff. I do that for a couple of reasons. One, we're just here to have fun, but two is I am not here to give people free copies of movies. Okay, if you want a free copy of Star Trek 3, sorry, that's not, you need to own it yourself. And so yes, all of the movies are going to have something altered in them because you know I want people to pay for them, and that's part of the reason you see Matthew screaming in the corner.
Oh yeah, I am.
And even bad movies, I want people to buy them. I believe in supporting the artists and stuff. I mean, I know that yeah, does do the stars of some of these movies need another solid gold swimming pool? No, but the a lot of the people that make money off of these movies are not just the big stars. Did Savick ask if he pooped himself? I don't think so. Probably should have asked. He must have pooped himself by now. The one problem with what is the one problem? We've been waiting this whole time, Professor.
I love how she says it's Dr. Marcus's opinion, but Dr. Marcus hasn't said a word.
I know.
Look at the con, the guy at the con right there. He's like,
Man, I don't know.
did that fool say Spock? Keep it together, you're a professional.
Oh, the space dock didn't have tractor beams powerful enough to stop the Enterprise? Well, apparently not. That is a good point, though, Professor. Maybe they were all, like, asleep.
Or somehow Uhura took him down.
By the
Or
way,
they
one
were
thing
too
I really
distracted.
do appreciate is I think the cloaking effect was better in this movie. And honestly, in Star Trek, in the TOS movies, oh yeah, there's some great evasive maneuvers here. Go in a straight line, and you're dead. He pooped, and kach. He said poo and kach. I'm. And why are they speaking English now?
Nose is bigger than mine.
That's a big leap. All you know is that communications were cut off. You could say, it seems that Grissom is under attack and communications are down.
I guess it's kind of weird that they're within a couple hours of Genesis.
Well, you know, writing. But that's the problem, you know, when with some people when they write, like in Star Trek 2, you got a better sense because it took them days to get to regular 1.
Mm-hmm.
But apparently, yeah,
And honestly,
you can get there in 2 hours.
they could have solved a lot of the issues we're seeing just by having the Enterprise still around Genesis. But then you don't get the scene where the Klingons swoop in, blow up the other ship
Right.
without. And I guess that the Enterprise could have been on its way back. Klingons swoop in, destroy it, and they say, hey, we need to turn around because we just lost contact with the ship.
Right.
And they could have even said, well, how are we supposed to get back there in time? We're going to push the engines. Just they're not really ready for this, but we're going to push them. And that just leads up to the further damaging of the Enterprise and the eventual choice to, sacrifice it.
Anyway, I will be right back. I need to Geloja real quick.
All right.
So, I don't think anything too major is about to happen, I hope. Don't fall asleep.
I promise nothing. And that's true, Jeff. They probably are, going at warp 9. But it's just one of those things where, kind of one of my complaints with Into Darkness, I think it was, one of the newer Star Trek movies, is that Kronos was, several hours away, and then all of a sudden it was a half hour from Earth. There's just no consistency in how long it took to get places. And I get writing necessitates some things like that. I just wish... I wish if you're going to throw something in like this, that you would plan ahead and say, hey, this is how long it takes to get from point A to point B. If we want the Enterprise to go back to space dock, then we have to create a logical way for them to come back to Genesis. When honestly, at this point, it's like like Michael said earlier, it doesn't even make sense that they came to Genesis for Spock's body. All they cared about was his mind. So why the body? That was such a leap of logic. And yeah, they travel at the speed of plot. I want consistent plot. I guess that's the thing. I want the writers to think far enough ahead to say, because a writer gets to decide how far away it is. So if you're going to decide it's a 4-day travel, then you need to make sure that it takes 4 days. If you decide that it's a 3-hour travel, then make it 3 hours. Who cares? But once you make the choice, you have to be bound by those constraints that you yourself chose to put in there. Thomas, go to sleep before he gets back. No, we're getting close. I can do this. Just another hour. Just another hour. Whose bright idea was to do this an hour later? And that's true, John. They went back because Sarek wants the body returned to Vulcan, but there was no logical reason for him to do it at that point. Because Sarek first just wanted the Katra, and then he's like, oh, by the way, no, we also need the body.
So did you break anything?
Not yet.
Yeah, the Grissom versus the Enterprise. There's a good fight. Well, and so
Must flow.
The Terminator $1. I know now why you cry. It is something I can never do.
thank you, Terminator, for the $1. But I don't cry. That would be a, sign of weakness. And Turdistanis aren't weak, like filthy Kurogans. Kurogans, on the other hand, they cry all the time. Right?
We just get soot in our eyes.
Well, that's constantly.
Thomas Potts, if someone I cared about died far away, you want them to bring them home to bury them? They already buried him, though.
It would be like a burial at sea. A traditional naval burial is what Spock got. Uh-oh. Uh-oh. Here it comes.
Well played. Here's the church. Here's the steeple. Open the doors. Where are the people?
I mean, did we really need this kind of graphic sex in the middle of this movie?
Clearly not.
I mean, we're seeing Vulcan genitalia just flung about on screen.
Yeah, but Professor, he only wanted the body back after he found out the Katra wasn't in Kirk's mind.
Right. He didn't seem to care about the body until he... Oh, man. This is just way too graphic. Yeah, it didn't seem to make much sense.
And John, yes, if let's say one of my family members was a soldier, I would want their body back. But at the same time, if their body had already been buried, I wouldn't be like, oh, unbury, bring him back.
Right. What I was saying, but I really like the cloaking effect here. The way that you kind of get that rainbowish effect where you see the red shifting and stuff. I think to me, that seems like the most realistic cloaking effect of all the various cloaking effects we've seen in Trek.
Mm-hmm. And that's fine, Thomas. But if they'd already buried him,
But couldn't Sarek use his ambassadorial influence to go to the Federation Council and say, I want my son's body, as opposed to just going to Kirk and saying, hey, you're responsible, you go get it. Sarek is a man of great influence, more influence than some lowly military captain or admiral. And I'm sorry if he did. I really doubt he went to the council. He said he watched the Genesis report. So he thinks it's the logical thing is to violate the law and possibly get Kirk and everybody thrown in jail. I think that would be illogical. Now he's being irrational.
and my only critique with Sarek wanting the body back is that he only wanted it, like, as an afterthought. Like, he goes on and on about, oh, the Katra, we pass it on when since we're about to die, it's the Vulcan way, and you find out it's not in Kirk, maybe someone else has it. No, by the way, you need to bring the body and his mind to this specific location. Yeah. It's like, wait, where did this body bit come from?
Yeah. And I'm sorry, but and sentimentality is not a Vulcan excuse. You need to have a logical reason for it, and there's no logical reason. Thomas, there is no legitimate way for Kirk to have gone. If Sarek using his ambassadorial power couldn't get there, then there's no way that someone with less power than Sarek could do it. So I'm not. He didn't have to tell Kirk to break the law. If Sarek couldn't do it, then Kirk would have to break the law to do it.
Christopher Lloyd makes a surprisingly good Klingon.
Oh yeah, I was completely shocked by that.
I wouldn't call it a plot hole, Professor. I just call it a bit of a logical inconsistency. That Sarek should have brought up the body sooner.
Right. Like if he had said, "Where is Spock's body?"
You know, it's not like, you had no right to bury him on a planet in the middle of nowhere. You should have brought him back so that we could observe traditions. But it's just such a tacked on thought. It's a nitpick. I admit it's a nitpick. But it is like the pacing, the way they played it out, it didn't quite work.
And don't get me wrong, I don't dislike this movie. I think it's way better than Matthew does.
Amanda $1. I wanted my son's body back. I told Sarek in 7 years he wasn't going to get anything from me.
So yeah, Amanda was going to withhold his 7-year portion if he didn't get Spock's body back. Thank you, Amanda, for the $1. Look, there's a million reasons why why Sarek may have wanted to get the body, but it just wasn't given. There was no explanation given.
Besides, we see that she has given it a lot more than every 7 years. Right in front of their son, as soon as they came off,
They're constantly having
turbo
sex.
lift.
Spock and Sarek, or Sarek and Amanda are constantly having sex in front of everybody. Remember my journey through Trek? I showed they're just constantly doing it. It's kind of nasty, really, when you think about it.
And Bill, that's a great point. Why wouldn't they just put Spock's body in stasis? I mean, it is a naval burial, which is very fitting since the Federation is very much a naval-esque organization. I guess, continuing along that thought, the reason they didn't put him into stasis is because they weren't thinking about this plot
Agent K
at the end of Star
$1.
Trek 2.
There's always an Arquillian battle cruiser, or a Carillion death ray, or
And
an
Agent K,
intergalactic
thank
fleet
you.
that is about to wipe out all life on this miserable
Completely
little
random
planet.
quote
And the
from
only
Men
way
in Black.
these people can get on with their happy lives is that they do not know.
And yes, I know there's always some crazy thing going on, but the important thing is the Men in Black are keeping us safe. Which, thank goodness. I love that shot right there, by the way, of the two ships facing off. Unfortunately, they shouldn't be so close to each other, but that is a beautiful shot. Put them on screen.
What a tiny little screen. We don't have you on mute, Captain.
I like the way he's thinking there.
What sort of issues do they have with the Targ, Jeff?
I think just puppeteering problems. Wow, Cinnabon, that's dark. Didn't catch that one. Although knowing Sarek, you're probably not that far off. Yeah, the plot really, but David, you're an idiot. Yo-ho! Teshachve. I do love that knife.
A nice spiky bit at the end.
Spock just looks so dumb there. Like, oh, you gonna kill me? Okay.
Yeah. Oh, we're gonna die. So instead of trying to fight back, I'm just gonna sit here like a chump. Thank you, David. Glad someone tried. I mean,
Yeah, but the
obviously
one
this
guy
didn't go well.
who has no ability to fight whatsoever, you know, Spock stronger than a Spock and Savick both stronger than a Klingon, and David goes after him. And right here,
Jeff is saying it's not
William
a
Shatner
Targ,
really sells it there.
but it's supposed to be a Targ, right? It feels like it's supposed to be a Targ.
It is a Targ. Why didn't they get Ethan Peck or Zachary Quinto to play young Spock? Because Zachary Quinto was like 8 when this movie was made. Or was he like I don't know. Was when was Zachary Quinto born?
I'm not sure if I want to know the answer to
I
that.
know. Let's see.
Born 1977.
Right. So this is 1984. So he would have been 7 years old. Dang, that was a good estimate of mine. He was 7 years old when this movie was made. Actually, it would have been about 6 when the movie was made. He was 7 when this movie was released.
And that's true, Jeff. It's listed as Monster Dog.
But that's because I don't think the term Targ had been invented yet.
Yeah, I feel like it was what Targs were later, based on.
And I don't care if they call it Monster Dog or Klingon Beast or whatever. It's a Targ. I mean, it's a Klingon dog-like beast that he keeps as a pet. And then later on in Klingon lore, we find out that Klingons keep dog-like beasts as pets that are called Targs. And hey, Donnie. Yeah, he sounded like he was like throwing up a little bit as he said it. Destruct sequence 1, code 1, 1A. You'd completely screw it up. You'd be like, destruct sequence 2, I don't know, what is it? You're like, oh, great. Yeah, that was that.
This is literally like making your password.
Destruct sequence 3, code PASSWORD. The interesting thing, it's not alpha canon, but it is in all the technical information, is that if you give the code destruct 1 instead of destruct 0 in that last line, then it does an uncontrolled matter-antimatter reaction at the end, which means that the ship not only destroys itself, but destroys everything else within a huge radius. But if you hit 000 destruct 0, it does a controlled reaction, so it only destroys the ship.
Okay. That's true, Bill. They did streamline the self-destruct sequence, which honestly didn't really make sense.
Right. Captain should not be able to do self-destruct on a whim.
Yeah. I mean, maybe 3 people is a little excessive, but at the very least, having 2 people to have to do something like that. I mean, you can't even launch missiles without 2 people agreeing. Or at least nuclear missiles, you know, the double key, you twist.
Well, you know, we all know about the Janeway protocol that ejects all the kids into space, so. Man, the Klingons are so dumb. Well, these are Krogan Klingons, so.
See, and this is another nitpick thing. They should have been speaking Klingon this entire time to justify why they're this stupid right now. Because it's like, okay, you know, only Christopher Lloyd actually spoke English. That's why.
Well, like him and his
Klingons
first
are like-
officer understood English, but
Yeah.
most of them didn't.
But instead, everyone's like, we speak English for some reason aboard a Klingon vessel.
I don't think this is the saddest moment in Trek at all. I think Spock dying is the saddest moment in Trek. I think this was a sad
I think he said
moment.
the second saddest moment.
Oh, sorry, second saddest. Yeah, but okay, yeah. I think Spock definitely first. I don't know if I would even go second, but this was definitely because the problem with this is that it comes just moments after David's death, and they don't give you a minute to really digest David's death. You know, don't get me wrong. I think it's powerful, but it would have been more powerful had they not just killed Kirk's son.
Mm-hmm.
You know, that
Night, Cinnabon.
Have a good one, Cinnabon. And I think that David should have survived. And of course now Matthew is left.
No, I'm still here. I just.
Or Amy walk in or something.
No, I got like a. If you must know, I got like a giant nose hair or something that's bothering me, and I didn't want
Okay.
everyone to watch me pick my nose one.
Oh, come on. That's where you zoom in the camera on there. It'll help you see
I
better.
thought I did. It's just a scratchy nose, I guess.
And it does make me sad too, because that is my favorite Enterprise. It's to me, that is that particular iteration of the Enterprise is my favorite starship of all.
Thomas is saying now they're saying they're going to have 5, or they had 5 tornadoes last night in his area, and a few homes were destroyed. That's nuts.
Where do you live, Thomas? So I can make sure that I do not move there. Oh, we're getting some American Vulcan in London. For anybody that gets that reference.
Dang, their phasers got juiced.
Well, you know.
I agree, Professor. In fact, we were talking about this a while back ago on Discord, that the Enterprise was a character.
Right. Unlike most ships in most franchises that are just settings or objects.
Yeah.
And, you know, like, if you look at the Millennium Falcon, it's the closest thing. But even the Millennium Falcon feels more like a piece of equipment.
If only
That
we
does
had
not
some
say-
device we could fire at a planet to cause them to, resurrect.
Is marbles a technical term now?
And we're talking about a doctor who routinely prescribes alcohol for problems.
Not well. I've got stuff that'll tranquilize an active volcano. That's still my favorite line of his. But the TARDIS may become a person, but the TARDIS doesn't feel like a character to me. I mean, they try to write the TARDIS like a character, but it still doesn't feel like one. Not like the Enterprise does. Wah, wah. No, you don't.
Now, Jeff, do you feel like all the TARDIS as a single continuous thing as a character, or did you feel like certain TARDISes were more character-like than other TARDISes? TARSI, TARSINs.
I just never felt like it. To me, it always just felt like it's a phone booth. And maybe it's because there's no consistency to it.
I like how Kirk considers a communicator a weapon.
Well, to Kirk it is. He should have dropped his pants too,
Now,
That was the smartest
Serenity
thing
Definitely feels like a character.
That was the smartest thing that any enemy of Kirk has ever done, was refuse to beam up Spock.
What about the Milano? Those little cookies with chocolate centers?
Yeah, he doesn't give a crap about your bluffs, Kirk. It's not going to work. Convenient
timing, Rock is convenient. Now, Jeff, I do know that the TARDIS is the same character all the way through. I was just curious about you personally, if you felt more attachment to a specific iteration of the TARDIS.
The Milano from Guardians of the
specific
Galaxy just
design.
feels like a ship. I mean, there's nothing special about it other than the fact that you know that it's full of memories for Star-Lord, but that's just because Star-Lord tells you it is. It's not because we've been in that many adventures with it. I mean, there have been 2 Guardians of the Galaxy movies. That's it. And the Milano was destroyed in the first one and then rebuilt.
I did feel like the Falcon definitely comes closer to being a character.
Yeah.
Or I guess I feel like it's more of a home.
Yeah.
I'm not sure if I'd call it a character, but it definitely feels like a home.
But the TARDIS to me, and my problem with that, Professor, is not that the TARDIS is, there are times when the TARDIS is written as a character, but there are other times when it's just a piece of equipment. And with every Doctor, they keep changing its appearance, and sometimes it'll just change from episode to episode. There's zero consistency with it whatsoever. The Razor Crest is a cool ship, but it's just a ship. It doesn't feel like a character at all. It feels like a very functional RV in space. Yeah, he should have offered him the gelato. Then yeah, Krug might have surrendered. And the Razor Crest, of course, is gone.
Hey, Yosef, how you doing?
Yosef, good to see you, buddy.
Greetings from the past.
Yosef,
what's your deal with goats?
Right now,
I'm not sure
Yosef
if I
is
get the
wiping
joke.
the milk off his face. And no, Spaceball 1 is not... I mean, Spaceball 1 is just silly. Yeah, the show can be about change, great. But you know what? That doesn't make it great. That just means that they're constantly changing it. And to me, that's a weakness of the show. That's not a strength. There's no consistency, and it's hard to get into a show where I don't know what to expect.
And so that's why I was asking if one particular one felt the most character
Right.
like to you, because throughout the different Doctor TARDIS combinations, there's definitely Doctors that I feel closer to and Doctors that I couldn't care less about.
And I never watched Andromeda, so I have no opinion on that one.
I'd call it... I might say that they treated it like a home, and that'd be a bit of a stretch for me. Like, I think at the end of the day, they treated that more like a vessel.
Here's
Just
the
a
best
vessel.
surrender ever. He's like, what?
Now that Klingon bridge, it changes a lot.
And no, Mercer,
Between
I'm
3
sorry.
and 4.
Orville is not a character. Orville is... Look, the characters on Orville are great, but the ship on Orville is actually quite plain. And that's why they had to rebuild all the sets for Orville for the new season.
And maybe it's because we haven't had enough seasons with it yet, but I would also describe the Orville as not even being a home. As it definitely is more of just it's a vessel that gets us from A to B.
Right now the Orville felt like a set. And I mean, it feels generic to me. And don't get me wrong, I'm not saying that in the worst way, because the Orville was designed as a parody of Trek. And so the bridge feels like a parody of the Next Generation bridge. The bar feels like a parody of 10 Forward. Everything on the Orville feels like a parody of something else. I'm hoping that with the redesign that they're hinting at with the new season, they're going to break out and make it their own. Because one of the big problems with the Orville is everything is reminiscent of something else. Nothing is their own, except for the characters. The characters on the Orville are great, but the ship is very generic.
What about Farscape? Squidward wants to know. Farscape was definitely a character.
I don't know.
And
I couldn't get into Farscape. I just couldn't get into Muppets in Space very much. I mean, I already watched Pigs in Space when I was a kid.
it was worth it.
Galactica, I think, was good. I didn't think of the ship as being a character. It felt, but it was more like how the Millennium Falcon was. Galactica felt like a home. It was a refuge for them. It was the only place where they've had relative safety. Now, one thing I do,
honestly, that's
in this scene here, notice where they land. If you look carefully at the scenery, it looks very reminiscent of Amok Time when Kirk and Spock fought to the death. If you and a lot of people don't catch that, but they actually land at the same place where Kirk and Spock, on Spock's family land.
I'll have to take your word for it. I don't.
Well, watch when they actually. I think it's when they actually land here. So notice,
Jeff,
notice.
I get
you
that.
see the long steps there, and remember, Spock's family came down steps to the wedding ceremony, and then watch carefully. Look in the background. You can see the circular.
Yeah.
That's where they were fighting.
So, Jeff, I was saying I get that. It's just I wanted to know if there's a specific combo that for you made it feel like this is the most character-like the TARDIS ever got. Because I mean, with Hartnell,
Doctor Number One.
I want to describe the TARDIS as being super sassy or intelligent, even. Like it
just seemed
felt more-
unreliable.
Yeah, it felt more vessel-like. And it was only as time went on that I would say they kind of gained this personality.
Yeah, it only feels sassy and all that in as a retcon. In some of the old Doctors, it just feels like the TARDIS is just very unreliable equipment.
This is now just TARDIS. Okay. I was just curious if there was one specifically for you, but all of it. Got it.
And Malfi says, what about B5? I already answered about B5. It feels like a refuge to them, not a character, but a home, the only place of relative safety. You know, I know that if Leonard Nimoy had it his way, all those Vulcan priestesses would be naked and extremely overweight. Because that's just that is literally
that really something he did.
Yes, that is absolutely something he did. He would take pictures of very fat people naked, and did it, put it in art galleries and stuff. Yeah.
I didn't need to know that.
Yeah.
And now we should stand here like this. It's important.
Yes. Because it's logical, apparently.
Logic dictates that I hold my arm straight out at an exact 90-degree bend.
The Mystery Machine is just a place for Scooby to smoke his weed. Or Shaggy to smoke his weed.
And you know, I was about to say this a while ago. One of the things I really like about Star Trek is that somehow this Enterprise, the original Enterprise, it had that feeling of both being a home and a character.
Right.
Whereas sometimes you have the ship feels characterish, sometimes the ship feels homish, sometimes it's just a vessel. But in Star Trek, the original series at least, it felt like both.
Mm. And now
Like,
that ship is gone as of this movie.
Yeah, and even with TNG, you just didn't get the feeling like it was a character.
No. In TNG, it was the Marriott in space.
It felt like home for the crew.
Right, but it didn't feel like a character.
Yeah. Voyager, that ship felt characterish. I know you're not super big fan of Voyager. I was. I felt like that ship had character to it. It's full of quantum. Deep Space Nine at the beginning certainly felt like a character as well.
But then Deep Space Nine kept changing owners, you know. Good thing they happen to have that other slab lying around. Just in case they needed to do this.
I feel like George Lucas was around for these women and convinced them all that in space you don't wear bras.
Yeah.
Now, was this the same actress that was in Amok Time?
No.
That would have been cool. I mean, obviously not Spock's fiance, but the older lady.
No. As far, I don't think that was Dame Judith Anderson. I don't believe she was alive at this point. But it was another dame for some reason. I guess, Leonard Nimoy had a fetish for dames.
Oh gosh, Lex, that was a TV show right there.
So someone was asking how long until you start doing the Babylon 5 or the Babylon 5, or was it Babylon 5 or Aren't you?
Yeah, I was hoping to do Babylon 5 with Jeff, and we were talking about doing that once Sequest was done.
Mm-hmm.
And that would be, how many episodes are less than Sequest? Like 10, I think. Sometime in the first of the year is when they'll be going on. If you're still up for it, Jeff, I'm not sure if that's something you still want to do.
I'm sure Jeff still wants to. And then I'm thinking about what after I move of doing some classic shows like Battlestar Galactica, Buck Rogers, stuff like that. If I can find someone to watch them with. But with Galactica, I'd want to do the classic and then the reboot. And with Buck Rogers, I would do the classic and then the reboot. Because there's a classic Buck Rogers, but of course from the 1930s. And then the reboot in 1980. But of course, we'll be doing reviews of Discovery in about a month.
No, there is no Discovery.
Only Zool.
New CBS is dead to me. They've given me one too many copyright claims. I got the message. If they don't want me talking about their crappy shows, I won't talk about their crappy shows.
Yeah, Space 1999 is another good one.
And John's saying that the character in Amok Time was T'Pau.
T'Pau. And this is Talar. Talar, yeah.
Well, I think that's good that they didn't try to make it the same character and just swap her out.
Yeah.
I think I like
it's another Vulcan.
On the one hand, it would have been nice to be like, oh yeah, she's the one in charge still. The one who oversees such things. But on the other hand, it's like...
Yeah, Thomas Lost in Space would be another one. See, there's lots of shows to do. But, I'll need co-hosts for doing classic shows. Force Matthew to watch Galactica 1980 with you. Well, no, Matthew... I
haven't actually seen the original.
Right. But Matthew would what we may do is after we, because once we go through Star Trek the Animated Series, I may do Galactica as a series as our short features. because there's not that much of it.
I guess I've seen a lot of old Galactica, but I haven't seen all of it.
No, I didn't.
I don't think I would have. And
Well,
Jeff is
I did it because your dad is an ambassador and he blackmailed me.
pretty much. It's in Watch the Edge of Destruction, the third story of William Hartnell. The TARDIS is shown to be intelligent. In the very first episode of 1963, the character Ian says, "It's alive."
I understand. Look, Professor, I'm not a Whovian.
Aren't they grown?
You're not, and I get it. Look, if you love Doctor Who and you get into the lore of Doctor Who, there's no consistency with Doctor Who, period. And I know, and if you love it, you can bend and timey-wimey yourself into believing whatever you want to believe about it, but you're not going to sell me on it. It's so inconsistent that it drives me crazy. I can't, Star Trek as it is pushes it way too hard for me. I can't get into Doctor Who because it's so inconsistent that it breaks my brain.
I like Doctor Who quite a bit. I would like it.
I like some of the old stuff. I really do.
Consistency.
Yeah, but it does drive me crazy that there's no consistency with it. They just the writers just do not care from story to story, episode to episode. They do not care what happened before. They just whatever. They'll write something completely contradictory to what just happened.
Yeah. And see, if they did it where like they acknowledge that this is different and that it's because of this time travel thing we've changed it,
right.
I'd be cool with that. Or at least I'd be more cool with it. But I do, I mean, as we talked about earlier, I don't even like it when they have the time that takes go between places change. Right. And the adventure continues.
Well, the thing is that, Professor, what we're talking about is not whether they tell you it's a character, it's whether it feels like it's a character. I get that people tell you it's a character. It doesn't feel like a character to me. It just feels like a cranky piece of equipment. And when I say cranky, I don't mean cranky as in a personality. I mean cranky as in something that's inconsistent and doesn't work right. Cranky like, Matthew and his audio issues. All right.
The computer's a character, all right.
Yeah, so tell me all about how this movie sucks and is one of the worst Star Trek films ever.
I don't think I can do that.
Well, you were saying that. You were arguing that this is one of the worst Star Trek movies of all.
I think, having watched it now, having it fresh in my mind, I'd rank this as greater than the motion picture. But definitely lower than the Wrath of Khan. So
Wrath of Khan is almost universally considered the best. And I understand. I'm not expecting you to say, "Oh, this is the best Star Trek movie ever." But
I'm trying to say where I put that because I gave
don't
TNP.
rank it. Don't rank it with movies we haven't watched yet. Okay?
Yeah. Just the two I've watched so far.
Right. So right now you put it in second place, I'm presuming.
Yes, and I gave TMP a 7.5 out of 10.
Right, and you gave Wrath of Khan like a 9.8.
Yeah, so I gave these two.
Right, it's tough because you gave TMP a strong rating.
I did, and it was well deserved.
Right,
very well deserved. Deserved.
The
characters felt legit. The score is fantastic.
Right.
Wrath of Khan, well deserved. So let's talk about the strengths. The characters feel like they should. It's a little weird that Uhura just sits it out.
Right. I didn't like that. I think that I don't know why they sidelined her for this. I don't know, because Leonard Nimoy, this was his project. And I'm sure there's some behind the scenes drama about that. I don't know what it is. but I thought that was a mistake because she is one of the core players and the only woman of the core players. So to have her sit on the sidelines while all the guys go and rescue him, that seemed a little weird.
I want to say I heard a behind the scenes story a while back ago, like within the past month or two, that there is a scene showing what her role in the heist was supposed to be.
Right.
That got cut out. But even with that, the end result is that she's still cut out.
Right. She just sits in the side. And Professor, I'm not saying I know the show better than you. I'm saying it doesn't feel like it to me. That's all I'm saying. If you love the show, knock yourself out. Love the show. I'm just saying the TARDIS doesn't feel like a freaking character to me. It feels like I have a life-size TARDIS in my garage. It's not like I hate the show, but the TARDIS to me is a police box. It's not a character. That's all. That's all I'm saying. For me personally,
I gotta go with Michael on this one.
You know. I'm not accusing you of anything. I'm not saying you're, but dude, you got to stop taking things like this personally.
I really, really, really like New Who. Everything after Chris Eccleston. Right. I love it.
He especially likes Jodie, by the way. That's his favorite.
Oh, she's a masterpiece. I've watched a smattering of the old stuff. I want to go back and watch all of it because I enjoyed so much of the New Who. And even though they had an episode where they literally had the TARDIS be a female character, even with that, I tend to think of it more as a ship.
And Thomas says TARDIS goes against Roddenberry's vision. I'm sure.
I guess it just didn't resound with me.
You mean resound?
Resonate.
Wow. It doesn't resound with him. What does that even mean?
That's the word they use.
Anyway, so we were talking about Star Trek 3. Let's get back on track here.
So it's weird that she sits out. The plot points, I wouldn't call any of them plot holes, right? But there's some missing information. Bad writing, yeah, or not bad writing. I think that could have been cleaned up a little bit.
Right. Like, why is it that they needed to go get Spock's body? We don't really know. Like, there's just a missing chunk there as to why is it that Sarek is sending Kirk to get Spock's body?
There's that, and there's why. I guess I was talking about this while you were geologiaing, but the writer gets to decide how long something takes.
Right.
So at the beginning of the movie, we see that they've been traveling for a while to get back to Earth. And it's 3 hours. And they could have done 3 hours to get back. They could have said simple lines like, oh, we're traveling at this speed. It's the max we can do. And that's why it took so long. And now Sky could say, oh, yes, she's got her second wind. I have her traveling at a faster speed. So we're going to get there in 3 hours. A little absurd, perhaps, but fine. But they wrote it. They chose the time it took for them to do things. And they just change it.
Well, and the problem is that what really bothers me about that little bit of dialogue there is the simple fact that in Star Trek 2, it's not like Regula was like right next to Earth, right? It took the Reliant took the Reliant several days to get from SETI Alpha 6 to Regula 1. It took the Enterprise an equal amount of time to get there. So why is it that it took them days to get there in Star Trek 2, but now they can get there in a matter of hours?
Yeah, and honestly, anything being within a couple hours of Earth, just it seems weird to me.
Right. Every
time it happens, I'm like, no, wherever you just were, I don't accept it being within 3 hours of Earth. Right,
because warp speed isn't that fast. And that's a problem, because like if you look at the original series especially, it was common for them to say, okay, we're going to name your planet, we'll get there in 2 or 3 weeks or whatever it is. You know, it wasn't, oh, we're going to get there in 2 hours. You know, and then we would see something that happens a couple of days later or whatever, and then and so they didn't try to make it seem like you could traverse the galaxy in 15 minutes. This isn't Star Wars.
Yeah.
But unfortunately, in some of the, and this is and I do put the blame, because this is something that we see from Star Trek 3 onward. We start to see this time compression where let's see, do they say in this movie how long it took them to go from Earth to Genesis? The problem is we don't know how much time passes from escape from space dock to Kirk asking Scotty how the Enterprise is doing, but from that scene to Genesis is 2.1 hours.
And it can't be been very long, because
Right.
the way they paced it on screen is very much the Klingons show up, Kirk goes to be en route. So
Right.
the Klingons weren't sitting around the planet for weeks or days or anything like that.
Right.
It was very much like this has been a couple hours.
Yeah, it's yeah. So we don't have, unfortunately, a really strong timetable. And yes, Thomas is staring at your player because, of course, your face is on there, and I did that on purpose just to mess with people.
I just so happen to have that covered. I didn't realize it was there.
Yeah. So the last frame is your face heavily distorted. So yeah, Thomas has that on his iPad. He's just like, ah. Sorry, Thomas.
So I guess what I'm dancing around here is that great. It was a good movie. I really, really enjoyed it.
Mm-hmm.
Scene of the Enterprise being destroyed, just
Yeah.
Well,
I do think that the stealing the Enterprise sequence was darn near cinematic perfection. Yes, I know the silly jokes about censoring transwarp were mood breaking a little bit, but I had to do it because, again, my goal here is not to give everybody a free copy of Star Trek 3. I'm sorry. And yes, I throw little jokes in all the movies except for Star Trek 2, because that is a sacred cow. But
and little poking fun at lore, good natured
yes,
poking.
I almost had lore, like put lore in there.
Oh,
but
that would have been great. Have Laura's face cover up every time they say it. Oh, that would have been great.
Like I almost, like, I was gonna have on the Excelsior, like have dancing naked lore on one of the consoles.
That would have been hilarious.
But anyway, but that scene is great. I absolutely loved the scene of the Enterprise approaching the Genesis planet and the Klingon, and seeing it from the Klingons' perspective. When watching Krug plot to destroy the Enterprise, because that's something we don't generally see. We're seeing it from the enemy's perspective. We're kind of seeing, like when Krug is like, this is just the turn of luck I've been waiting for. Okay, let's hold off, keep the ship cloaked, get the firing ready. Target the engines, that whole thing. I love that sequence because we're watching it from their perspective, and we're not really rooting for the Klingons, but we're trying to figure out, oh, shoot, Krug's got a sound strategy here. What's Kirk going to do? Because, the Enterprise might be a bigger ship, but, Krug's definitely got the element of surprise going here, because Kirk has no idea there's an enemy ship there.
Right.
And, that whole sequence, I loved the shot of the Enterprise head to head with the Bird of Prey. Classic shot of those two models. They're just beautiful. Krug is a great villain. I mean, I don't know why people I don't know why people don't like him. I think he's great. Just the fact that he's not an intellectual, he's not a Picard type of villain, but he is definitely, he's kind of the Klingon Kirk. He's a quick thinking, adaptive strategic thinker. And so, you know, he has good gut feelings about things. And as soon as Kirk was like, you know, getting on the comms, he was like, wait a minute, this ain't right. And he knew exactly what was going on. He probably figured out the fact that his torpedo hit with no shields up. He's like, wait, why didn't they get their shields up? And now they're demanding I surrender when they could just blow me out of the stars. What's going on? You know, so, you know, he knew something was up, and bam, he got it. And so his only real mistake was trusting that the do-gooder Federation guy was going to be good as his word and surrender.
Yeah,
And
no tricks. Promise.
Yeah.
Pinky swear.
exactly. And so that was his only real mistake. And you know, but I just love that, like when he sits back and he sticks his tongue out and I got it. You know, here's what we're gonna do. But and that whole, you know, because I remember when it was first announced that Christopher Lloyd was going to play a Klingon, there was a stand-up comedian, I can't remember who it was, but he made a joke about it. He was like, Christopher Lloyd is the Klingon? He's like, what's going to happen? And this guy was one of those comedians that would always do a William Shatner imitation. He was like, Klingon Commander, this is Admiral James T. Kirk of the USS Enterprise. You are hereby ordered to surrender your vessel. Okie doke. you know, that's kind of what people were expecting, you know, but what we got was actually a surprisingly good performance from a surprisingly good villain. So, I mean, I got to put this up there. I think that this is one of the better Star Trek films. And this one is absolute proof that the odd numbered films can be excellent films. And so I don't care what anybody says, this is one of the better films. So I would give this one a solid 8.
So I'm actually gonna give it a little bit higher.
Okay.
I'm gonna give this an 8.5.
An 8.5. Okay.
Yeah. So it's I gave Wrath of Khan 9.8. This 8.5. Excellent, strong movie. Just some.
You know,
minor,
I think I'm going to bump it up
things.
to about an 8.5 as well. I think you're.
Yeah.
Because I want to give it a little bit of room, because I'm not Star Trek 4. I'm honestly, just thinking I'm going to probably put below this. Star Trek 5 will be significantly below this. But which I know you think Star Trek 5 is much. It's funny because these movies are all coming in much better than you expected. I think when we get to Star Trek 5, you're going to be like, oh wow,
it might come in low.
You're going to be like, I did not realize. Joking aside with the silly stuff that I throw in, which will be obvious, you're going to forget how bad that movie really was.
I've clearly already forgotten.
Yeah,
how these movies were.
Yeah, well, yeah, you've obviously forgotten much. Star Trek 6, though, is another really good film. So it's and having them all have high grades, except for Star Trek 5, is understandable, because I think that the 6 original series movies all do score very high. It's when you get into Generations and onward that the average kind of tanks, unfortunately. And that's just because the Next Generation films, they're not necessarily all bad. It's just that they're not all good movies. They feel like they're 2-part Next Gen episodes.
And even weird ones at that.
Yeah. Not all particularly good ones. Yeah. They're in fact, I would go so far as to say the only one where they all act in character is Generations. And unfortunately, as a movie, that's probably the weakest of them. Yeah. And, I understand. And it's weakest because it's not an action-y movie. And the climax of the movie is 3 old men fighting on a hill. That's That sounds like the beginning of a joke. Three old men were fighting on a hill. The first one says to the other, "Hey, I always knew I'd die on the bridge," and then a bridge falls on him. Yada yada. That's.
And are you subscribed to Robert Picardo's YouTube channel by any chance?
I am not.
He did an upload this week called The Joke, in which it's a 3-man play, the round, and the whole premise is, what is a joke? What is, like, they deconstruct it. It's very humorous.
Mm-hmm.
So I won't ruin it, but that's literally the kind of stuff they do. It's an Englishman, an Irishman, and a Scotsman situation. It's like, well, we have to be in a joke. I mean, you can't have the three of us without being in a joke.
All we need to do is walk into a bar. Yeah, so.
And they have a great line. Jeff, you'll appreciate this because one of the doctors, Sylvester McCoy, is that his name? That's not it. Oh gosh, wow.
Yeah, it's one of those. I just ban them. Mike Richards was even faster than me, and so thank you. And by the way, just so you know, Professor Brainy Specs, I see that you were don't time them out. Do the hidden option. That actually removes them from the channel permanently.
Oh, okay.
If you get one of those spams, don't bother timing them out because you don't want them to come back.
I actually got the name right. Wow. Yes.
That is an amazing thing. Well, that's the broken clock syndrome.
Was one of the characters, the Irishman. And they had a humorous line where they said, "Doctor, Doctor," and then Sylvester McCoy playing Doctor Who and Robert Carter, who played Doctor in Voyager, both did the motion that Sylvester McCoy always did in Doctor Who. It was a very funny moment.
That would be kind of funny to have three people who played characters who were just known as a doctor, but from different, completely unrelated characters. So you have like one person who played the Doctor from Doctor Who. You have like, Robert Picardo who played the Doctor from Voyager, and then find another character who is just called the Doctor from something else. I'm sure you could find it, and then have them reprise their roles together. And I mean, and so like, hello, I'm the Doctor. Well, I'm the Doctor.
Who would you get to be the third?
I don't know.
Because if you just want to find a Doctor character, I mean, you could have Hawkeye. You could have
right,
Dr.
but you need
Cox,
a character who's just known as the Doctor.
The Doctor, yeah.
I'm trying to think of who. Trying to think of who.
But
I mean, like I was thinking, well, Doctor Strange, but that would be, that's not. He's not just the Doctor.
Oh, okay, Mr. Doctor. No, it's Strange. I'm not one to judge.
Yeah. Let's see. Doctor Who. List of fictional doctors. Let's see. The Doctor. Okay. There is actually a Marvel character just called the Doctor. That's funny. Let's see.
And I'll say it's a little weird that person who spammed showed up because I swear I hit them on the channel last week.
Well, they create new accounts all the time.
Well, no, so I clicked on the three dots and I went to click hide, but it says unhide user on this channel. So either someone hit hide right before I did, or right before I clicked on the ellipses, or I hit it, but it still showed up. That doesn't make sense.
No, it doesn't. You're just going crazy.
Which, I mean, it's coming from my mouth, so I mean.
Yeah, so not making sense is just like, yeah.
Water's wet. Snow is cold.
Let's see. I don't know.
Mike Richards hit it. Okay, there we go. So Mike beat me to it just quick enough.
Yeah, it's funny. I show that it was timed out by both Professor Brainy Specs and you, but it was hidden by Mike Richards.
Excellent.
But hidden.
Yeah, when I saw unhide, I'm like, okay, well then just time him out, get it off here.
Yeah, do not ever unhide. Yeah, that would be bad. Anyway, so there we go. We have 3 in the can. Now, next week, of course, we are not watching a Star Trek film because it's Halloween weekend. So we will be watching the wonderful episode Cat's Paw, written by who?
Cat's Paw. You're asking me like I'm actually gonna know this.
Yeah, I know. I figured that you might actually know something, but I should know better than
The DC
the
wrote
D's.
it? That's the only one I...
Cat's Paw was written by Robert Bloch.
There's no way I was gonna get that.
Do you know who Robert Bloch even is?
No.
He wrote Psycho.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, so yes, even though Cat's Paw looks cheesy, it's actually written by someone who really knows horror. So Cat's Paw, and that'll be followed by The Happening, which I know is a very, it's a kind of going back to our roots as far as Mystery Movie Night. It's a really bad horror movie with some really bad acting and really bad directing, but I changed the ending so that it is truly terrifying. So, which you will be, it's funny because
Okay.
I just made a minor change to the ending, and the ending of this movie is now absolutely bone-chillingly scary. It didn't take much, which is funny because it's an M. Night Shyamalan film, and he's known for his endings, and I didn't need to change much to make it a great ending. So you'll be pleasantly surprised. So we're going to watch The Happening, which you've never seen, and you are going to be,
That's right.
yeah, and you will never again look at hot dogs quite the same way. And every time you see a hot dog, you're going to think of the words hot dogs, just like that, because there is a character who says hot dogs a lot. And how hot dogs, he goes, hot dogs have kind of a bum rap. They have a pleasant shape. I wish I was making that up, but that is actual dialogue from the film.
Okay.
And I don't know if you remember the famous meme of Mark Wahlberg going, "What? No."
Yeah.
That is from this film. So that's the level of acting to expect from this film. It's really, really bad. Mark Wahlberg is at his absolute worst in this film. I mean, like, his absolute worst. I've never seen a film like this, as far as it's, you wouldn't think that a movie with a budget like this could have acting this bad. It just doesn't, and especially since it's not like M. Night Shyamalan can't direct. He's made some really good movies. So how this happened, I don't know. The Happening. Nobody knows how it happened.
Maybe that was the point. Maybe he is actually that much of a play on
I think it was. I
idea.
think he did purposely make a bad movie. Because I can't think of any other explanation for how bad it really is. But it didn't take much to make it terrifying, which you will see when you see the very end of the film. I mean, you will absolutely, when you see the end, you will not believe how frightening it truly is. But unfortunately, I can't spoil it. So Joseph's never seen The Happening. Well, I look forward to it, buddy. It's going to be fun. And then after that, we will get right back into Star Trek 4, 5, and 6. So we're halfway through our Star Trek-a-thon for the original series films. Now let me ask you, as far as the holiday season, I don't, since I know it's late, and you're tired, but I want to talk to you about it while I got you on the phone. I'm a little tired too. While I got you, so what do you want to do for the December? I assume, like I said, I know I was making the assumption that you want to take Thanksgiving weekend off. You didn't really answer.
That is not because I was ignoring you, but because I honestly don't know.
Okay. So check with
I usually have
Amy.
friends coming in town. I usually have family, not friends or family.
Yeah, I know. You hate your family.
coming in town.
I hate
those dirty, rotten skunks. Around that time, so I honestly don't know what my schedule will be until we get a little bit closer and people start actually talking about it.
Okay.
Without my dad, we're just the worst planners. Like no one plans anything. It's like, oh, you know what? I guess we're coming in town, and I guess we'll see each other at some point, and then somehow it all works out in the end, anyways.
So we don't know what's going to happen then Thanksgiving, and then I assume we don't know now as far as Christmas Eve. Do you guys do anything on Christmas Eve?
Yes, we usually go to Amy's mom's house.
Okay, so we'll figure that we are not doing a stream on Christmas Eve then.
That's a fair assumption.
Okay, because I just don't want to set up any false assumptions. On New Year's Eve, if possible, we're going to start kicking off a franchise to start off the new year, kind of like we did at the beginning of this year. We started off with New Year's Eve watching the first 2 Sharknado films. So we're thinking about doing something similar with like the Fast and the Furious or something, because Matthew really is looking forward to watching Fast and the Furious.
Oh, I can barely contain my excitement.
Well, don't worry. The first couple of Fast and Furious movies don't break the laws of physics.
At least it has The Rock in it.
Well, not the first couple. The Rock shows up like around movie number 4. And that's when the physics start breaking.
Well, I'll have to manage.
Yeah. And I mean, when the physics start breaking, they really start breaking. And like, yeah, when they start jumping their cars into space, then you've really gone off the deep end. And then after that, the Fast and Furious series will take us until probably mid-spring, and then we'll be getting into the James Bond series, which he has never seen a James Bond movie. This idiot has never seen a James Bond movie. So
it's true. And
then that'll probably get us till summer, and then we'll figure out what we're going to do from there. Anyway, so that's the plan for the first half of 2022. Gosh.
And honestly, we'll probably have to start the week after New Year's Eve, I guess. But I'll let you know, ideally before New Year's Eve itself.
Yeah, you better, or else I will drive to Texas and punch you in the face. And obviously, at some point, like if and when we sell the house, we'll have to take a couple of weeks, when we're moving and settling and all that. But don't know how that's going to work out yet. So at any given time, we may have to put the brakes on for a few weeks when that happens. But when that happens, we'll deal with it. But thank you, Matthew. I know you can barely keep your eyes open, but it's hilarious to stall you as long as possible. So remember, Matthew is now completely wrong on 3 movies in a row. So we'll see how we do with number 4.
Well, no. I was right on.
Well, you were right on one.
I ranked 2. Yeah. I ranked 2 as the highest. So.
Yeah, so okay, so he's right 1 out of 3 so far. Can't you do Fast and Furious before January so I can't watch? Sorry, Thomas. Doesn't work that way. All right. So with that, guys, thanks again. Have a wonderful morning, and Jolan True and all that garbage. And we will see you next week for our Halloween spooktacular, or whatever we're calling it. We'll have to come up with something scary to wear, like, dress as Mitt Romney. that's what we'll have to do. Good night.